Morning, Ines. How you been?
I have been fine. Yes, thank you. I think we just briefly mentioned the difficulties in not only Afghanistan but the floods, the hurricanes, the tornadoes, the earthquakes. Uh,
Yeah,
I just feel for people.
yeah, me
You
too.
know, it's
Yeah,
it,
yeah, exactly. And I think this is where this spiritual link and the meditation becomes so important just to, because I often find that I can go into the meditation just feeling so anxious and worried, but then come out of it feeling so much better because it just sort of smooths out the waves, doesn't it? It just sort
that's
of,
right.
it just does that. And yeah, I feel for the world, but I also feel for
Yeah,
people who don't have that in their toolbox.
that's right. Yeah, yes, that's true. And of course, as you said, the inner two box, what we call ourselves spiritual link, we are actually spirit. We only
Mm,
have the body on loan for a very short period of time.
mm,
And the body that we're given is what we are meant to and expected to deal with.
yeah,
If we're lucky to be beautiful and successful because of our physical attributes, that's great. But sometimes just to get ahead of life because of the deformities or other, there nothing is a handicap. But the way that we've been created is not an easy chore.
mm. Yeah, no, it's
So
difficult. Yeah, no, it's really
yeah,
hard. Yeah, for sure.
no, I totally agree. But this spiritual link, um, it is all about living our life to the fullest, which incorporates natural spirit. We are spirit. We will go back to spirit. We came from spirit, but also very much focusing, I think that we do, on the physical aspects, because it's the mind, it's the body that hurts. It's the mind that's emotional and is in pain, suffering, loneliness, pain, distress, anxiety, and all of those things.
Mm.
So by combining, I feel the two that we're trying to do in a very, yes, call it holistic, but in a very natural way,
Yeah,
which is what we're doing, I think is the step forward.
yeah, yeah. And I suppose it's a lot of people don't realize that, when we meditate, our life becomes better. Obviously, it won't solve all of our problems because problems are part of life, and so is challenge. But
Yeah.
it does make it better because we are. It's like you said, life is spiritual, and all is spiritual. But we can do meditation to bring more of spirit into our life, right?
Yes, that's absolutely. Yeah, I totally agree with you. Yes, and it's also, I think if we call it spirit, people might just click off and go to the next podcast, or what mightn't they? But it's also a very important aspect of life skills.
Mm,
So we're talking about a modern word or a new a new interpretation of spiritual link, which
mm,
is of course the life skills as well, which can't just be one thing, how to count your pennies. It also has to do about the emotional self. And that the life skills is to become aware of oneself. As I said, sometimes we're born with immense beauty. Sometimes we have an arm tied behind our back, literally, to get through life. And also, I think it's a gift, or it's a finesse if you're able to interpret the knowledge that we have within ourselves, not just to read, but through the meditation to interpret your own sense of knowledge that's within ourselves, which also includes the perspective of our life. And we're not all, as humanity says, we're all born perfect. Everybody is actually totally and utterly perfect, just not perhaps through the magazine. And
mm.
that interpretation of who I am and what I am, why do I have this challenge, comes through meditation.
Yeah,
And the meditation, because it calms the mind, is a spiritual link,
yeah, yeah.
however one wants to cut it. Um, and through that, of course, we bring forward those life skills of self awareness and understanding, not only of how we think now, but also why why do we get so upset about certain things? Why do we possibly overreact to other people's conversations or comments when perhaps no unkind intent is meant? We're just super sensitive.
Mm,
What is it? Why were we brought to that? Then we think parents brought up, not enough money, not enough that. I don't necessarily agree with that, but that's only a personal thing, because I know a lot of people who've had really challenging lives, and they are just incredible.
Mm.
I don't know how they got to that stage, but I know that they do say they meditate all the time. But the interesting thing is, and I'm mentioning this because I believe we're going to possibly do a regressive Zoom at
Mm-hmm.
some time. I didn't know what to call it, but through meditation, very automatically, we are able to delve back into the past of time. And how can we do that? Because it's spiritual. It's a
Mm.
natural function which we don't recognize. It's like the deja vu, which we don't recognize because we don't put it under the heading of spiritual. The person says, I'm not spiritual. I don't believe in this or that. That's no problem. That's only physical. I don't believe in this. But the mind doesn't work like that. When it's calm, woohoo, let's go back maybe. And so that also enables us to understand ourselves better. And this in itself reflects on our emotional self now, in this life, our choices also, perhaps also our mistakes. Why am I always doing this? Haven't I learned? That sort of thing. And it is the spiritual self, which of course retains all the memories of all time. And that's accessible through just relaxing, calming. So everything we talk about, whether we don't always say spiritual link, and whether or not the word meditation comes up, it is the cornerstone of our life, which means the calming of our mind. God, give your brain a break is basically what it is. We
Yeah.
have to. And then all kinds of other things, nice things can happen. So everything in life, I think I may have mentioned this before, you did too, Thor, is on loan. There is no entitlement. The richest person on the planet is not entitled. It's his karma. Why? I have no idea. Maybe he was a slave for 1,000 years. Now he's on top of the mountain. I don't know, but that's not for us to decide. Or punishment. So there's no entitlement. There's no punishment. There's no sin as such as we see it. But there is a saying, which is correct: what goes around comes around. But that's not because, oh my God, you've been a bad girl. Has nothing to do with that. It's a matter of learning. If you dish it out. So how do you think it feels to be on the receiving side, on the receiving end? That is why we get it. It's a learning lesson. So, how does it feel? Do you like being
Mm.
pushed around? Do you like being bullied? Do you like being cheated? Do you like being called names? So let's see. And then very often a person will come back with just being the odd person out. You know how cruel children can be. You can be
Yeah.
all the same.
Fully aware.
Well, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, me too. So, what does it feel like? Sometimes when we go through those things, we turn out to be a much nicer person. In the physical, we think, God, that didn't feel good. I'm going to be nice. And maybe you go that little bit further to help somebody else, or just to give them a helping hand. So the breath of life, again, that's debatable, obviously, but it is. The breath of life is on loan. Our health is on loan. Even the hard and the difficult times in life are on loan. And this brings forward that inner strength, because the inner strength is recorded, if you like, in the annals of our spiritual self, which comes again and again and again and again. We're born, die, come around again. I won't go into where does it originate. Number one, this is first life, da 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 da. That is another little story, which is fascinating. But basically speaking, it goes around and around, and that is the breath of life. So sometimes we're here, there, and everywhere. What I have found, as soon as I say I don't like something, I know I'm not going to do that. No. In the not too distant future, I do it. I'm pushed into it. I don't want to get personal about this, but when I was in high school and we learned geography, this was in SF, we got to the British Isles. Oh, wet and cold and gray. And I said to them, no, I don't want to go there on vacation. It's the last place on earth I want to be to. I've been here 50 years and I like it. Yes, and I like it. Yes. So zip it up. Be so careful what you think. There was a cartoon when Boris Johnson was trying to become mayor of London. Do you remember that on the not the Shard, the one that looks like a cigar, that a building
Oh
that
yeah, the gherkin, right? The gherkin.
yeah, the gherkin, and the cartoon was him sitting on top of the gherkin, and it's the caption said, "Be careful what you wish for." And that's absolutely correct.
Yeah, be
It
careful what
really
you
is.
wish for. Yeah.
Yeah, what we think, what we wish for is out in the ethers. It truly is. But anyway, these difficult times, whatever it is, it brings forward an inner strength. And that inner strength is what we call the reserve that we muster at the most impossible times. You know, we hear stories, if you haven't gone through them yourself, you hear stories of incredible valor, incredible strength and fortitude and endurance. And that inner strength comes from the spiritual self inside. It gives you that other little push. No, you're not going to die. Come on, keep going, keep going. And what we visualize or hallucinate will be that carrot. You want that carrot. So we're always given whatever we need as human beings. Because otherwise, trust me, there's no purpose to life. Why should we clog the planet, any planet, if there wasn't a reason?
Mm.
Anyway, so the most important part of our physical life, and we come back to this all the time, and you hear it and you read it, hear it, and whatnot, is how we live our life, how we see the purpose of our life, and how we can actually enjoy the life that we have. It's within its limitations, and all life has limitations. Even if you have all the money in the world, how many meals can you eat a day? Okay, you might go for 10 minutes up to the stratosphere, which is just before space hits. It's not even space. Yippee! You come down, you have a shower, you have a cup of tea, and then what else? What part of the world haven't you seen that brings you any joy? You know, that money, I would have, it's big saying this because I am not the richest person, nor do I have the resources. I think I would have just inoculated the whole world with vaccines, with little going out in all the remote areas of every single continent and have teams, because that costs money. They also have a right to eat. Teams with vaccines, with the right equipment to make certain that as many people in every country is vaccinated. I think that would have been awesome.
Yeah, that would have been a feat, wouldn't it? And that would have given
That
them a lot more positive press than what going into the
stratosphere, exactly. So
yeah.
and so what?
Yeah, and so
So
what?
Precisely.
I agree with you.
So anyway, how can we enjoy the life that we have? And we're talking, of course, about the totality or the totalness. Totalness is apparently not a word. I was corrected. It is totality. It
Is
is not a
totalness
word.
not a word?
No.
Well, we have
yeah.
officially decided that it is a word.
It sounds better, doesn't it?
Totalness sounds much better. You are more than welcome to say totalness.
Thank you.
Ines. Coming from a foreigner, you're more than welcome to say totalness.
Thank you. Thank you. Anyway, this is we're talking about the totalness of all aspects of what life has to offer, not just one little tiny bit, but everything. So that is, you know, that sort of is what we're talking about. Again, understanding and appreciation life can only come through calming the mind. Yes, we go on with meditation. Meditation also means that it is the concentration of a certain thing that you are doing, which brings the calming of the mind. But if I can just interject, I don't know if you agree, Thor. You don't just iron. Yeah, that's you're bored with it or whatever, unless you really like ironing or sitting over a sink or something. What I'm talking about, that the human being makes the effort. You are taking time. Time is money. That's all. Time is the only thing we can give the world, the spirit. If you believe in God, the guides, anything, the only thing you can give is time. Not an amulet, not a bit of stale bread, nothing. And that time is the reflection of oneself and the calming of the mind. And that is when we get that little boost up the hill of life. So it's an inward journey of learning how to understand, how to appreciate oneself. What we're talking about, it begins with you and how you feel, how you're able to move through life and appreciating yourself. Okay, maybe maybe you don't have degrees, maybe you don't have this, maybe you don't have that, but there's always something, and that is highlighted and can be seen through meditation as well. But also to become aware of others. We were just talking about, of course, it's easy to say, oh, to spout when you don't have the money. Oh, I would do this, I would do that. Easy to say if I can put my money there. But it's also when we become aware of others. We also, when we become aware of others, oh yes, I can see that. Do you? I don't mean you, Thor. Does anybody? Because then we have to let go of resentment. Now think of close to home relations, parents, partners, kids, whatever, aunties, uncles. We have to let go of resentment, stored up anger, guilt, fear, uncertainty, all of those things. Only then are we able to actually become aware of others? And that's a big thing. Most of the lessons in life, most are actually very close to home. People that you come in contact with constantly. They're in your face. You cannot get rid of it. Or the prospect of it is really, really daunting. So, but we have to get rid of our anger, our hate. God, yeah, I see you. Yeah, I know you. No, it's a big step, very big step. But all of this is achievable through the power of ourselves. And that power in ourselves is the accumulation of past lifetimes. Obviously, we've been there before. We have not learned, have we? So that is still there. So let's go into that lifetime, which will be shown to us, so that we can maybe build on the blocks of compassion and understanding and releasing anger and hate. That is the strength that lays within ourselves when each and every one of us, there are no exceptions. Nobody gets, no, that's not for me. I'm not like that. Don't say that. Just don't say it. Your nose will be shoved in, even not good. And again, achievable through the art of meditation. So it's such a necessity to give the brain a break. And also, I think, call it mindfulness, if that terminology resonates a little better. You're doing mindfulness, fine. If you wish, it's just a word. It's a word that people understand and gravitate to, nothing else whatsoever. So through meditation, as I said, we bring forward past times, past events, which bring forward new realizations that there is also continuation of life and a purpose for everything that we need to go through. And that brings forward, so why? Who cares? Whatever it was. Oddly enough, through regression, I won't say this, of course, when we do this regression, because it sort of hits too close to home. Everybody wants to be somebody grand. There have been kings and queens. I have yet to meet somebody who has sort of been whipped in foul-smelling clothes and so on and so forth. There's always something big and important and so on. Anyway, but everything has a purpose for everything, and we need to go through all of those phases and to understand our needs now. And why are we the way we are? Why do we get so upset? I'm not talking about the very obvious. Money helps a great deal in life. To have enough funds to pay the bills, to have someplace to live, to eat, and perhaps to have something to enjoy yourself. Because if you go out for coffee, what is it, $2.50 or something like that? I mean, something like it's hideous. It depends where you go. So yes, money is important, but guess what? Not everybody gets it, and you can work very hard. I know some people who work actually 90 hours a week.
God,
yeah.
That's awful.
The pay is so low, so very low. They work 90 hours a week in order to manage and their wife works as well. Yeah.
That's awful.
So yeah, it is. And also through the meditation, there comes a feeling, if you don't know what guides are, you've never been introduced to guides, don't want to know guides, whatever, they are literally from another time. The body isn't here anymore, but they have been allocated to that individual because of the lessons that they have gone through. And it's always somebody that you have actually shared a life with. And that's interesting. It's really interesting. You feel a connection. God, they're still around. Thanks. And they're able to help us through the lessons, through some of the lessons that that we need to go through. So I don't know, you have a pal, you have somebody there. He or she's in your corner. It's nice. I don't know, I feel cozy.
I feel it's cozy too. I totally agree with you.
Takes care of the teddy bear, doesn't it?
It most certainly takes care of the teddy bear, yeah.
But also what this does, and this is really the headline of everything in life, by wanting to calm your mind, and that inner peace, through that inner peace that we get, helps us to cope with life and the difficulties we are expected to deal with. We are expected. There's no get out of jail card. We move through it, go through it. If we don't, guess what? We do it again and again and again.
And
That's why with clairvoyance goes up a little step ahead. Sometimes you're told events, say with a business or something, da 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 da. But then there's a reason for it. But if we knew too much, what will not be told necessarily is any illnesses, any difficulties. If we don't know how to deal with them, if we're prepared, God, oh no, okay, I won't do this because this and this I was told will happen. We can't go through that karmic process. That's why there's a limitation.
Because if we knew, how would we learn? Yeah.
Exactly. But we have a guide. They say, okay, come on. You've done this before.
They like shove you into it, basically.
Exactly. Go, girl. Yeah, go, girl. So, but the guide's physical lifetime may have been in the distant past. So somebody may think, oh God, what do they have to do with us? In the distant past, but the lessons of endurance or blissful joy are always the same. It doesn't matter where it is, if it's a desert, if it's whatever it is, if you're the first little hunched up man that walks the planet, guess what? It's still survival. That's basically it. Yeah. And we are meant to endure all of this.
Yeah, it's a very interesting, I suppose what you've shared today is a really interesting, it's a take on an attitude of mind, isn't it? A way of thinking and moving through life, having a spiritual perspective, philosophy, or understanding sort of the broader reason of why we are here. And I mean, I think that understanding can only come through the practice of meditation, right? You have to get into that to be able to bring forward that philosophy in your mind and live by it.
Absolutely. It has to be individual.
Yeah. So to start bringing the podcast to a close, on us, what's your we started on a gruely subject of Afghanistan and floods and so on and so forth. Are we gonna end it on a more positive note, huh?
I'm not so sure. The only thing that can hurt you is fear itself.
Say that again.
The only thing that can hurt you is fear itself. Because then our mind already takes on the burden of, my God. Again, with our mind ability just to calm our mind while we're walking along, brings a different perspective. I'm going to say something which has nothing to do with this podcast, that information today. But when Jesus on the cross was dying, obviously that is not a nice way. It was a normal execution in Roman times in that period of time. However, he was actually, as we call it today, he was able to do self-hypnosis to ward off the pain, the intense pain. And when he said, God forgive them, that's not exactly what he said precisely, but he was inducing that strength to endure what he knew he had to go through. That was his karma. So that he had, again, it was self-hypnosis, which again comes through you do that again through meditation as well. It's through the calming of the mind.
And then you can endure.
Exactly. So the only thing that can hurt you is fear.
Yeah.
And if you have that presence of mind, it takes but a second of time. Second. And the tool that we use, and I believe you find helpful as well, I do, many people do, is that the brook of water is the divide, it's the water of life. You're on one side, the barren road, all the things that life offer us, then we step over, we're in the meadow. It's only symbolic, but if you use that as a stepping stone when things are really rough around you, you can focus still physically, you can think physically, but your mind then goes into a different zone where you can actually get the information to get out of that. It's just that little stepping stone. At least that's the way I had been told to view that dusty road.
Yeah.
Because why the hell should I just the dusty road? If you use a gong, wonderful, but I don't always want to go deep. I need to deal with the situation that's in front of me. I still need to just stand up upright, and I have to have a good way of thinking to do whatever. That is what meditation can do.
That is exactly what meditation can do.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ines, for a fascinating episode. That was really interesting.
Yeah.
Thank
And
you so
anybody,
much.
just send some positive thoughts to the world.
Yeah, we always do that.
Yeah.
Always send some positive thoughts to the world.
Yeah.
And as always, if you have any questions, comments, or wants us to explore a topic, just send us a question.
Any comments at all that we can chew over.
Exactly. Well, thank you so much, Ines. And
thank you, Thor.
See you again next week.
You bet.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.